I will never forget this book for as long as I live. I'm so desperate for them to be together. I feel like they're my family and friends. I don't really want to read them. Honestly, so happy I could scream. Hey book besties, welcome or welcome back. My name is Sian. We're coming up to the end of 2025 and I've been wanting to make a video for a while going through my favourite books of each month and my least favourite books of each month. So we're going to run through that list. I've literally just gone through my whole read list for the year and this was actually really fun to do. Sometimes it was quite clear which ones were the best and which ones were the worst. There's some months where I've had two god tier books to come out of that month, so I literally couldn't pick, so I've put them both. So let's start off with January. The best book that I read in January was Quicksilver by Callie Hart. This book very quickly became my favourite book of all time and nothing has been able to top this for me. I'm currently reading Brimstone and I'm honestly so happy I could scream. I'm having a great time. The characters really drew me in, the setting, the magic system. There was literally nothing that I didn't enjoy about this book. Just absolutely everything. Grabbed me by the throat and it hasn't let go since. I gave this 5 stars and it's made it to my god tier list. I can't tell you how many times I've reread this and listened to it on audio as well. The audio fucking slaps. Anthony Palmini and Stella Bloom, they are my Kingfisher and Ceres. I've even treated myself to the audio of Brimstone so that I can listen to it after I've read the book as well. I'm obsessed with it. And then my worst book for January, Between Commitment and Betrayal by Shane Rose. I gave this 2 stars. I did feel at the time that I was being very generous with that rating as well. I honestly felt like I lost brain cells reading this. The FMC was so unlikable. She really, really irritated me. Like I was getting like irrationally angry at some of the things that she would say and do. I just hated it. And if I remember rightly, who was the MMC? Declan. I didn't particularly like him either. And there was a lot of like contradicting themselves in the story as well. And just no. I have the rest of the series on my shelf, but this being the introduction just really put me off reading any of them. So I still do have the books and I want to read them, but also I'm like, I don't really want to read them. Moving on to February. The best book I read in February was Wild Side by Elsie Silver. I got an arc of this book and it honestly blew me away. I gave it 5 stars. The story was absolutely incredible. The banter and the hatred between Reese and Tabby was absolutely immaculate. I love a book that has banter. If you can make me laugh constantly throughout the book, you're gonna get 5 stars because I think that's really hard to do. It wasn't forced and the relationship between them grew so organically. And then Tabby's sister's son, Milo, was he called Milo? He was called Milo. He was absolutely adorable and I loved how Reese came across so like standoffish at the start, but then once we peeled back the layers we realised what a softie he was and the relationship that he had with Milo and stuff. I just loved every single thing about this book. It was so beautiful, so this was the best one. The worst book I read in February was Salt in the Wound by Sierra Simone. I didn't dislike this book. This is a novella that's set before the Lioness trilogy and it's very important to the story. The only reason that I knocked it down was because this was very religion heavy. This is a novella, it's tiny, right? It was so religion heavy and I was like, oh, I don't want to read all this religious stuff, but it was needed to have an understanding going into Salt Kiss, which I gave nearly 5 stars. So while I do like this book, I had to rate it low because of just the things in it that made me knock it down. That's just like the way my rating system works in my head. I gave it 2.75 stars. So this was technically the worst book that I read in February. Moving swiftly on to March. The best book that I read in March was The Dawn of the Cursed Queen. I gave this 5 stars. This book was absolutely incredible. It blew me away. I had started the Gods and Monsters series in February and then I did a readathon at the end of February which I'd already picked the books out for, so I couldn't start this one until March. But I'm absolutely in love with this series. It's so fucking good. Sam, Keel and Diana are absolutely everything to me, but I'm also so invested in all the side characters as well, like their family and their friends. I feel like they're my family and friends. I honestly inhaled this book and it's thick. I could not get enough. When it finished, I was like, oh, just give me more. I just need more of them. So yeah, this was definitely the best that I read in March. And then the worst book that I read in March was Painted Scars by Neva Altaj. I gave this 1.25 stars. I think that's probably one of the lowest ratings I've ever given a book, and quite honestly, I despised this with a visceral intensity. It was really not for me. This was a mafia romance. It's book one in a series of like 8 books, and for an introduction to a series, I just thought it was awful. I really felt like there was no plot, there was no kind of character development, and the main characters got on my nerves like no other. I've never known anything like it. Just no. Save yourself the trouble if you were thinking of reading it, and just don't. Just don't. Then we got to April, and this month I had 2 books that made it to my God tier list. We have All This Twisted Glory by Tara Maffey and Gleam by Raven Kennedy. Both of these books got 5 stars, but they are fucking God tier. They are God tier. All This Twisted Glory is book 3 in the This Woven Kingdom series. This follows Eliza. She's a lost queen of the Jinn people. There's a prophecy involving her where she needs to marry into another kingdom and then she'll unite her people, basically. This book, there was a new love interest introduced in book 2, and this book fully solidified him as my favourite choice for her. And the tension between them, the yearning, the pining. Cyrus is absolutely everything. I'm so desperate for them to be together. I recently read book 4 and it was so good, it was so worth the wait. But this book lives in my head rent-free. It really does. If you haven't read this series, because I know her popular series is Shatter Me, and rightly so because Shatter Me is incredible, but this series really deserves some attention. I feel it's so underrated. I rarely hear anybody talking about it. You need to go read it. And then Gleam. I remember reading this and feeling so elated, like it made me so happy. I genuinely can't even describe to you how happy this made me. I was giggling, kicking my feet, screaming, like dancing around the room. This book was just absolutely everything. It's so long, but I was so glad that it was long because I just wanted more. I didn't want it to end. Oren and Slade gave me life in this story. If you haven't read the Plated Prisoner series, this is like a King Midas retelling. So he has his favourite gilded woman, Oren. So he keeps her locked in a cage because she's basically made of gold. Like her skin is gold, her hair. She kind of gets liberated from Midas because he's not who he appears to be. And she then travels with Commander Rip and his army into a different kingdom where she meets Slade Ravenger, the king. Their story is absolutely unbelievable. Yeah, this book really deserves its place on my God tier list. It's outstanding. And then the worst book that I read in April, Fearless by Lauren Roberts. I gave this 3 stars. So it was okay, but if I could rewrite it, I would. I was so disappointed with the ending. I was so disappointed with the outcomes that some of the characters got. It just wasn't the conclusion to this series that I was hoping for. After loving the first 2 books so much and Powerful, the novella, I just really wanted so much more for this, and it really did let me down. Don't get me wrong, I was absolutely eating up Kai and Pei, but I just had hoped that this would go in a different direction and was really disappointed with the direction it did end up going in. Moving on to May. My favourite book was The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. This book is also on my God tier list. I added a lot of books to the God tier list this year. This has been, so far 2025 has really not let me down on the book front. It's been such a great year for reading. This book has my entire heart and soul. This book follows Achilles and Patroclus as they navigate their relationship and war, how Achilles has to go to war to fight for Agamemnon to get back Helen of Sparta. And Patroclus is so in love with him that he can't let him go alone. He has to go with him, and just all the obstacles that they had to face. And Achilles' mother is a goddess. She hates Patroclus. She doesn't want him in his life. She tries to keep them apart. And the tragic way that this ended absolutely ripped my heart out of my chest, and I will never forget this book for as long as I live. I would recommend this book, honestly, to anybody. It's so beautiful. Everyone else who's read it has agreed that they also love it. It was definitely my favourite read for May. My least favourite book for May was Dare You to Hate Me by B. Celeste. I gave it 2.5 stars. It had a lot of potential. It's a sports college romance, which I eat that shit up every single time, but it was just lacking in a few areas for me that I felt could have been done better. I didn't really resonate that much with the characters, but the story was entertaining overall. I do feel like the last 50 pages were kind of rushed and everything was a little bit glossed over. The FMC was quite irritating as well. See, the thing is, if the FMC irritates me, I can kind of deal with it more when it's the MMC, because generally they have like some quite good lines that I'm like, yeah, that redeems you a little bit. But the FMCs, if you don't grip me with a good FMC, I'm really not going to enjoy the story, and unfortunately this one just wasn't for me. I do have the rest of the series on my shelf. I bought them on Vinted for like £15 for all 3 books, and I haven't read the others because this kind of put me off, which I'm really bad for doing. I need to read them because I paid for them. Like, they're just sitting there collecting dust. Moving on to June, my favourite book from June was Lotus by Jennifer Hartman. I gave this 4.5 stars. This was such a beautiful read. This is about a guy who was kidnapped as a boy and he's been in captivity for literally like 20 odd years. His best friend was a girl. They live next door to each other. She still lives in the same house. 20 years later, Oliver manages to escape captivity and he comes back out into the world, and he's not been introduced to technology. He doesn't understand like loads of things. He was lied to by his kidnapper, and he just doesn't understand how the world works anymore. But his brother still lives next door to his old best friend, so he moves back in with his brother and gets reintroduced to the next door neighbour, and he realises that he's always held on to her while he was in captivity. She was like the one constant in his life, and their relationship, oh my god, I just love it so much. This story had me crying at the end. It was so beautiful. The circumstances in it are horrible, but their relationship is just so pure, and I would recommend this book to anybody. I really would. And then my worst book for June was The City of Souls and Sinners by Kayla Edwards. Oh, it really pained me to say this after the first book. I really loved City of Gods and Monsters so much, and I had such high hopes for this one, and I ended up giving it 2.25 stars. It just wasn't for me. It literally took me like 8 days to read it, and that is so long for me. I just struggled. I really struggled to continue. I just found it so boring. I almost DNF'd it, but I'd heard such good things about book 3 that I just forced myself to power through. But oh my god, the storyline was really confusing. I didn't find it intriguing until like the final couple of chapters, and I really just wanted it to hurry up and end. Lauren, the main character, irritated me to no end in this one. Like, I literally wanted to reach through the pages and strangle her to death. That's how I felt. So yeah, that was my worst for June. Then July, the month of my birthday, my favourite book, which I finished on my birthday, the early hours on my birthday, was Severed Heart by Kate Stewart. I gave this 5 stars. I was sobbing. Like, I woke up the morning of my birthday after crying so hard at like 2 a.m. My eyelids were swollen. That's how much this book got to me. This is a spin-off from the Ravenhood series, and if you've read that series and you know what happens, this is Tyler and Delphine's story. So I knew it wasn't going to be a happy ever after, but I don't think I was quite prepared for how much it was actually going to destroy my soul. Their story was so much more beautiful than I was anticipating. I was honestly so invested. I love both of them so much, and I was devastated for him even though I knew what was coming. Ugh. It destroyed me. It actually did destroy me. But I'm so looking forward to Birds of a Feather because he gets another chance at happiness. Oh, Tyler. This was definitely the best. I think about this book all the time. And then the worst book for July was The City of Smoke and Brimstone by Kayla Edwards. Now, I'm not saying this book was bad because it wasn't, but July's reads were so top tier that this was just the lowest rated book. That I gave this 3.5 stars, which I don't think is a bad rating. I would say this book definitely kept me entertained. There were some parts of it I really loved, but there were some parts of it that was like, oh, come on. Again, Lauren really irritated me, but it wasn't as bad as book 2, so we'll give her a little bit of grace. I do feel like it was unnecessarily long, and that's why I knocked it down a bit. There was some parts of it that I felt didn't need to be in there at all. Like, why are you wasting my time with this? I don't know. But all in all, it was a very entertaining story, and I am still looking forward to the next one. July and August were very difficult actually, because I started reading the Throne of Glass series in July and I finished it in August, and that has become my favourite series of all time. I didn't rate any of the books lower than a 4. I loved the entire thing. I fucking inhaled it. So to choose books that were my least favourite and favourite was actually very difficult. So moving into August now, I can't pick a favourite because I just can't. But both of these were 5 stars for me. We have Empire of Storms and Kingdom of Ash by Sarah J Maas. Oh. This is an 8-book series, okay, so I cannot go through a quick little roundup. All I'm going to tell you is that it follows an assassin who's out for revenge for the deaths of people that she loves. She gets captured as a prisoner and then released by the king, and she has to become his personal assassin. And along the way, many things are uncovered. She has her own agenda, and she's kind of working against the king to fulfill this agenda, basically. I really don't want to spoil it, and it's kind of hard to just go in. This is book, what book are you? 6, and this is book 8. If you read Assassin's Blade first, which I did. Empire Storms, I was physically unwell reading this. Physically unwell. I was crying in both of these actually, sobbing. Absolutely sobbing, like I've never been in such a state reading before. I vlogged the entire series as 2 parts, the first 4 books in one, the last 4 books in the other. They're on my channel, go and check them out because I feel my reactions are quite entertaining. These are both God tier for me and they were the best. I cannot choose, I'm sorry, I can't. My least favourite for August was an arc that I got. It's called One Dark Kiss by Rebecca Zanetti. I gave this 2.25 stars. I had really high hopes for it because it's a Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs kind of retelling, also mafia romance. So I thought those things combined, this is shaping up to be a really great read, but I just hated it. I really hated it. The MMC claimed her from the moment they met. She was his lawyer. She got him out of prison and he like turned up at her house and was like, I'm living with you now. Like, I'm all for a possessive MMC, but Jesus Christ, like, he forced himself into her house and was like, yeah, I'm staying here. And she was like, she just let him. It was just really odd. Like, they'd had one meeting in the prison, and then she got him out and then he moved in. So that being the start was like one thing, but then there were so many things throughout that I just really didn't vibe with. It just wasn't for me at all. I really hoped that there would have been more solid links to the Snow White and Seven Dwarfs as well. The like parallels just weren't great. It was kind of pointless marketing it as that because I didn't really, other than her having 7 renters who rented rooms in this massive house that she owned, other than that, I wasn't really getting the Snow White theme. So yeah, that was the worst for August. Moving on to September, the best book from September was Love Arranged by Lauren Asher. This is book 3 in the Lakefront Billionaire series. This was such a beautiful conclusion to this series that I have loved so much. I gave the first 2 books 5 stars. I gave this one 4.5. I loved it. I loved it. Lorenzo and Lily were literally everything to me. Their story was so good. It was like a fake dating, fake engagement because he's running for mayor. They met on a dating app like a year ago and really hit it off, but he was looking for a fake fiance to help him kind of win the campaign. And when he met up with her, because it was like anonymous, he didn't know it was her. When they finally met up, they realised they had this connection and she really liked him. And then he was like, fuck, I need somebody who's gonna be a fake fiance, not somebody who I could potentially fall for. This is not in like my game plan. So he like broke her heart. And later on, their paths cross again. She's harbouring a lot of resentment for him, fair enough. He's still always really liked her, but he's tried to stay cold and keep his distance, and she needs his help with something, so they agree. I'll be your fake fiance, and then you can kind of help me out with my situation as well. So great banter, great plot, and just such a lovely, lovely conclusion to this series. It really was a great read. Then my least favourite for September was another arc, and it's Play Me by Adriana Locke. I gave this 2.5 stars. This was marketed as a sports romance. Where was the sports? Other than like a locker room scene and the guy meeting with his like manager or team owner or whatever it was. Really not much sport in there. Didn't vibe with either of the main characters. Found her friends to be really annoying. Kind of his friends weren't really the best either. So like the side characters were a burst for me. And there was just too many things throughout the story that I just didn't like. So unfortunately this one wasn't for me. This was my least favourite. That brings us to October. I had decided for October I was going to read all dark romance for spooky season because Halloween is my favourite day of the year. I didn't end up sticking to all dark romance purely because there was some new releases that I'd been waiting for and I'd forgotten they were coming out in October. So they arrived because I pre-ordered them, and then some arcs that I'd received as well, and I just had to deviate from the TBR. So for the most part I read dark romance, but I did deviate a couple of times. So my best book for October was Keep Me Never by Megan Brandy. I got an arc of this. This book was 5 stars. It was absolutely incredible. This was Chase Harper's redemption book, and I knew it was going to be good, but I didn't expect it to be as good as it was. Like he is like so close to Noah Riley's level. I can't even tell you. I was shook to the core I was actually shook to the core. Like Chase and Paige together, oh my god, like the trials and tribulations that they both had to deal with in their own lives respectively was just absolutely gutted me. I couldn't get enough of it. I actually couldn't get enough. Like all the guilt that Chase was harbouring from what he tried to do in Say You Swear, where he tried to swoop in there and steal Ari from Noah. I honestly hated him for that in that book, but he's slowly been starting to redeem himself throughout the other books, and this book, it didn't disappoint me. It was fucking so good. If you haven't read this series, the whole series is amazing. Like, I would implore you to go and read it. And then my least favourite was one that I was highly anticipating, because I read the Edge of Darkness trilogy in August and I'd been wanting to get to this because I fucking loved Tobias Mitchell in that. So I read Psychotic Obsession by Lee Rivers, and I wish I hadn't read it. It was so bad, guys. It was so bad. I gave it 2.25 stars. I just wanted it to end from pretty much the beginning. Like the first few chapters were fine, but then as the story started to develop, it was just there was just too much. There was too many things. This man, like, I know the point was that he had this like psychotic break, became obsessed with her. Completely get that. I love a stalker romance. We love a crazy king. But this was just too much. I don't know how else to describe it. I just did not like it. Like one minute he was fine and the next minute he was completely crazed, and it just didn't really make a lot of sense. It was like, how are we getting from A to B here? Then there was like some things with like medication where he was drugging her, and it was just wild, absolutely wild. And I kind of feel like it ruined the idea of Tobias that I had in my head from the Edge of Darkness trilogy, and I would have rather have kept that image of him in my head, but now I have this. So yeah, I was disappointed with that. It was definitely my least favourite. That brings us to where we are today. We're in November. I'm not going to do my favourite and least favourite because I do have a favourite so far, but because I've not finished, I don't feel like it would be fair to state that just yet until I've wrapped up the month. So I'm not gonna give my opinions on that. I think I want to start doing a post every month on Instagram where I do my least favourite and favourite of every month, and then like as the months go on I'll just add another slide, so keep like updating, this was January, this was February, because I have seen a few creators who do that and I want to get involved. So this was a different type of video, but honestly, it's been such a great year for books. I am properly gearing up to my full recap of the year where I do like my tier ranking of every single book. So far I've read 109. I've read 109 books this year so far. We've still got, you know, a few weeks to go. I do feel like I will probably get to around the same number as last year. I read 121 last year. So let's see what the next month brings. I did just do an updated yes, no, maybe book recommendations of all the books that I read from August to October, because I like to do every few months just a rapid fire yes, no, maybe of whether I think you should read them or not. So I'll leave that video right here if you want to stay for a while, and if you've made it this far, then thank you so much for watching.